Today I'm joined by Amanda Stevens, who's the team manager for Team Ben Stevens out of Wellington City in New Zealand. Amanda and her husband have built a business from a team of two where they did everything together to now running a really sophisticated team of 7. And Amanda is responsible for everything outside of listing and selling the property: recruitment, training of the team, brand, marketing, and keeping the wheels moving. Last year, they wrote over $3 million in GCI. Thank you for joining me, Amanda. I'd love for you to take us back to the beginning and how your real estate career started.
Sure. So in 2006, when I was coming back from the UK, I was looking for something to do outside of my degree, which I hadn't loved. And I'd always aspired to be an agent. My mum was a real estate agent's PA when she got divorced. So I once went to an open home of hers and I thought, this is amazing, I would love to do this. So I did my salesperson licence and moved to Wellington, where I knew Ben, who had just got out of real estate. And so I came into the industry. I went to Harcourts, which is where a lot of the people that he used to work with worked. And that was in 2007. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of in that funny time leading into the GFC, knowing no one, and kind of mid to late 20s, and winter I didn't make it.
So what did you do?
I got out and I went into recruitment, actually, which is actually so similar. Yes. I was so disappointed because I actually think it was the first thing I'd really felt like I'd failed. Mm-hmm. I hadn't gone into it thinking I was ever going to fail at something. And so, yeah, I went on to be in recruitment until I had children.
So Ben Stevens is your husband. So you've kind of leapfrogged each other in that early part of your career. You followed Ben into real estate, you got out of real estate, he got out of real estate. Yeah. And then eventually you came back together. Yes. To enter the industry again as a team.
So originally we were not together, you know. Yeah. We were not a couple. And so at no time when we were in real estate individually we were a couple, okay. But then we became a couple and we were looking for business opportunities, and it seemed insane not to go back into real estate. We met at university and used to watch Changing Rooms and talk about when we'd both be real estate agents. And so, yeah, we decided to come back in together. It was at a time that we'd just had a child, and we had 3 babies in quick succession during that first 5 years.
So those 5 years, having babies, effectively starting your own business, what were your roles that you both played in the team?
Because I was limited in my ability to do the after hours work, and obviously we didn't have a lot of volume in the early days, I established a database. I created a lot of the marketing pieces. I wrote, and I didn't personally build the website, but wrote all the content for a website, developed a brand. So the company that we were working for at the time had no brand guidelines, and so we created a personal brand very early on, which, you know, has moved during the times. So that is where I focused my efforts, but I was a licensed salesperson. I'm quite good at generating business, so I'd be doing all those kind of things. And where Ben needed help at open homes, I'd be doing those.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so it was all hands on deck, fulfilling what you could, raising the family in the background.
I'm not great at that. I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. They were in daycare. Yeah. The company that we worked for, while they had their own, you know, we were allowed to create our own brand, we also were required to create every item of collateral. Wow. There was no listing documents, so there was no flyer template. Absolutely everything was built from scratch by me, really. Yeah.
Okay. And so how were those first 5 years? How would you rate the success of the team and your entry back into the industry?
I think because I'd failed previously, better than anticipated. We both had knowledge, we were more mature. I think we had both been able to reflect on what we potentially could have done better in our individual times. Ben, having gone out of real estate and doing 6 years to become a registered valuer, which he had a degree in, brings an incredible point of difference. So his knowledge and skill is amazing, and people love the fact that he's a valuer to come in the door. So actually, in the first year, I think we made about 130,000. That was in 2011-12. So that was really good at the time. Yeah, we were happy. We actually went into partnership post that with a guy that Ben had been in real estate in the early days, and he was the #1 agent for the company at the time, but he was looking to retire. So we took on a lot of his systems for marketing and templated things for, post-sale. So a lot of the structure that we've talked about, and the systems that we run come from those early days, and having exposure and insight into what a top agent did, but from the early days.
I remember you saying to me that you initially marketed your way to the top,
Yes.
as it were. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, I think the creation of that personal brand really helped with that, not having to fly under, and I don't recommend obviously that now, because Ray White's a great strong brand and I like the consistency of brand across agents. But I think we had websites before even businesses had websites, and it gave a great place to drive people to. We've been done very consistent marketing activity from the outset. We set up a weekly listings email that drove people to our website. We've done a blog from month 1. We have a blog. We have about 7,000 people that are receive our blog. These days, it's just run every month consistently for the last nearly 12 years. That gives us the ability to show a lot of professionalism and insight, perhaps, that might set us apart in the public's eye from a standard agent. Yep. We were onto social media very early. I think this was done in response to the fact that while I'd done a lot of sales work, perhaps Ben hadn't and didn't necessarily want to make calls. Right. So we did all the marketing where we should have been doing the calls as well. Right. Yeah, and I think because we were early adopters of websites and social media, that was easy for us to grow that, whereas these days it's so cluttered. I would struggle to see how people could grow the same business or have the same momentum.
You had better cut through because you were early adopters. Yeah. And so you talked about the fact that there was a barrier to making phone calls, and there wasn't a lot of structure around core markets or database, and then there came a point where that changed. Why?
Well, a lot of reasons. We were not given any CRM system. Right. So we had no place to put people or manage a relationship, where I've come from a lot of sales roles, including outbound cold calling, where you would always have a CRM system and you'd write notes so I had always known that we needed to do that, and while I would do a lot of it, I think Ben is quite a humble guy who doesn't like to talk about himself, and he felt calling and doing those calls or telling people he was an agent might make him look. So the combination of coming on with Ray White, getting that CRM system, building a team where I was saying, okay, I've got all these big expenses, guys, so where's our next listing? And they would be like, not sure. And I go, okay, your aim for this week is 5 calls.
Wow,
and
5 calls?
5. And we get to the Monday and I go, Ben, did you make your 5 calls? No. Rebecca, did you make your 5 calls? No. Wow. So that was...
Something had to change.
Something had to change, because one minute we were full of listings, one minute we had no listings. How can I build a business? How can I pay the bills? How can I forecast? None of it without some consistency or knowing where my next listing is coming from. And I think the husband and wife dynamic can be quite difficult there. Yes. Whereas I can tell Ben to do something till I'm blue in the face, but he's only going to do it when he decides to do it. Yeah. And working with Macca from the early days of our move to Ray White has put another voice in there. And I think it's just been a combination of efforts, knowing that now we had the systems to support a database, now we had a team that we had to support with consistent business, all Macca saying, have you done your, all of those things have just all...
It worked. You had the recipe, it was just bringing it all together.
I think bringing it all together, where now we can't even see a way backwards. We do so many calls, and our business is so consistent and scalable and predictable, and that brings a lot of relief in terms of, feeling confident with my team structure, just, seeing into the future.
I remember Macca talking about your business and talking about the fact that you mentioned Wellington's not a huge place, but you'd get pulled into auctions all over town, and then all of a sudden you're finding yourself competing with the dominant agent in that marketplace, and then the next thing is you're compromising on your fees.
100%. That has been one thing, and I tell you, in the last 4 months, I feel like it's really reached a tipping point. So, because Ben's a registered valuer, we always kind of pitched that we could sell anywhere. It didn't rely on us to be knowledgeable about the particular market or suburb or side of the town because of that valuation school. So that was our fault, to be honest. And I think in those early days, you just kind of want to take money because you need the money, and like, how are you going to survive? Since working with Macca and becoming much more targeted where possible, we are seeing that the bombing and layering that he refers to, that real suburb specific, we've got 3 that we like to focus on, is just building incredible momentum. So we're doing a lot of geodata work, we're doing a lot of door knocking in that area, we're doing a lot of outbound calling to people in that area. And all of a sudden, a market called Kandala, which is a really high value suburb with beautiful homes that we've lived in, we live in the neighbouring suburb now, and have been trying to crack for that whole time. Our inbound appraisal inquiry from that suburb is just to the point where we're actually the dominant agent in that, over a guy that's been there for like 18 years.
Wow. In
Kandala, in Nio, where we have our home office, and in the neighbouring suburb. So that, whatever Macca says, do it.
and I love you talk about what that's done to your your commission as well.
Yeah. So people are coming to us knowing that they're going to list with us, but I think the implementation of the pipeline, understanding people's time frame for selling. So if they're selling in a year, not putting a fee in, and taking the time where they might have come in as an inbound appraisal, and taking that 12 months to add the value, which Ben is doing beautifully, managing a pipeline, is meaning that at this end, we're coming in unopposed and charging a great fee, but not taking advantage of the fact that we know we are not in competition at that point. So it's the conversion rate's great, the overlapping of listing and buyers in the area is great. The fees are great. We've managed to add value in those areas, which means people trust us. It's a better working relationship. All around great. All around.
And so what's also interesting about the dynamic, obviously the business is mature now, did $3 million in fees last year. Ben is the lead agent.
Yep.
And you're the team manager.
Yep.
But you're not listing and selling.
No.
But you're the one who is effectively running the team, which is not a typical dynamic.
No, but I have amazing respect for lead agents who are out 10 hours a day and still having high functioning teams, because I know the amount of oversight it requires. I think New Zealand potentially quite litigious, and we're doing a lot of our own compliance, but just I'm quite fearful about, dotting I's and crossing T's. So that oversight to ensure in quite a large team, which has been up to 9, everybody is on track, making sure that our compliance is on track. Everyone's saying the same thing. People are trained, people are motivated, people are cared about, and that we're just running a good business for everyone involved. It would be hard to do that when you're not there. Yeah.
And it enables Ben to do what he loves, which is list and sell property.
Yeah, list and sell property is his main job. He's great with vendors and he's an incredible problem solver. So whatever problem there is, he just has this amazing ability to keep, and knowledge I think, to keep 2 parties engaged in a very tricky transaction. And it takes a lot of time and energy, and he's just giving himself so much to his clients that knowing that he can be out doing that where he doesn't need to worry about the back end is good. It's good.
Yeah. Now you mentioned your team has been up to 9. You're currently a team of 6.
6 and a remote administrator.
Okay, so 6 and a bit. Can you just talk about the evolution of the team and your profile of the candidates that you go for and how that's changed over time?
Yeah. So when we Originally it was Ben and I, so we've kind of always been a little bit of a team, and we took on an administrator very early on. I had a very limiting belief about my ability to manage staff, so I didn't want to grow beyond. I actually didn't imagine that there was growth beyond that, because Wellington is not a city of teams. Some partnerships, not really. So in 2016, where we were really compromising on our service levels, we just simply couldn't handle the volume of work, and we reached that real tipping point where it started to take off. The company said, hey, you must take on somebody else. But there was no knowledge really of how to structure that well, especially in a growing business, I think, which posed most of the issue. So there's not some huge pool of agents that are available to join a team. So they were like, this is your option, one person, and you pay them a percentage of your turnover. And so in a business that one year did 750, that's what we based her remuneration on, and the next year doubled, she was earning an astronomical amount of money with no requirement to turn up even. You know, no requirement to turn up, no requirement to generate new business. And what I didn't understand, despite her 7 years in the industry, she actually had very little skill base. She came with very little knowledge, so we were training from scratch. And I think as our business grew really rapidly, I needed to very quickly put on my next team member. But there's only so many ways that you can slice a pie. So I would have to say to her, hey, we're going to have to reduce your commission split, but if we bring on this extra person, we can handle this capacity, so you're going to earn more. That never resonated well. I was right, she actually earned more than I told her she would, but it just kind of went downhill from there. So we had to find another model. And that kind of coincided with having access to Australian team models where we remunerate with a salary and commission, and we bring people from outside of the industry into our team, and we train them from scratch with very little expectation of the time frame of their ability to generate business. And that's been a model that's worked much better than trying to just get given the existing agent that's underperforming in the industry and taking them and putting them in the top performing business in the city and expecting them to go from selling 6 houses a year to 110. There's no runway for that.
You would prefer to take a clean slate, blank canvas, and build them, and you see it as a long-term investment. What's the minimum? You're investing in someone for 12 to 18 months.
12 to 18 months, I feel like at 18 months, they're probably starting to build a database of people. They're probably generating a few listings. We have a huge focus on training. We have one person in our team solely dedicated to training. And so by that stage, they're probably quite a skillful agent. We are quite slow with introducing people as they grow skill to each step, because I felt like our reputation's been hard fought for, and I don't want to lose that. So those are people that have come from not even having a consideration about being an agent to me convincing them that they should come and work for me, to them bringing into our team and training them up. And I think that that's also led to great stability. They can see a great path forward. To me, although I don't communicate it probably effectively enough, there is limitless possibilities if they want it in our team. And we're certainly seeing that with a girl who was my nanny.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, she started with me at school, and she came every Sunday and looked after my baby when I was doing open homes with Ben. She turned up, she was organised, great communication, had the kids under control, all the things that I hadn't found in people that I had in my team. I thought, if you can do that, why can't I train you to do real estate and combine the things that I can't train with the things that I can?
And that's Cardiana. And she's now a wonderful success story as she's now appraising and preparing to list her own property.
Well, yeah, so we've done about a year and probably a year and a half of appraisal training at this point. So in our absence, she started appraising. It's great. At some stage, if we could get to the point where it's Ben and Cardiana as co-list agents, and perhaps Cardiana runs associates under her and Ben can do the same, that would be wonderful for us. That builds a lot of freedom for Ben.
So you're hiring for the attributes, for the characteristics, and then you
team fit.
Yep.
The team get a say on who comes on board.
Okay.
Because we've had a bad culture, a culture I didn't want to come to work in, so I don't want to compromise on the people that are in my team.
So the interview process is you and Ben first, and then if they pass that, then you introduce them to everyone.
Yeah, there's There's actually quite a few. I kind of do the interview, HR, general manager, back to my team. That's quite long actually.
Yeah, but they hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
Take your time getting the right person in the beginning, so that you don't have.
I don't want to fire people.
Yeah.
If I've brought someone on board, I feel as an apprenticeship, I'm fully investing in you. And as long as kind of what you've said you're going to do, because I take people on face value, I do expect if you've said that you're going to do things, that you'll do them.
Yeah. So give them the time.
Give them the
Give
time.
them the training.
Because, it's just an overwhelming amount of things that they have to learn. I can't expect people to be out being great agents in 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack takes them through just a 3-month stepped out program just to get them to the point where they'll be doing a buyer appointment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 last questions for you. I know things have changed dramatically in your marketplace, and Wellington has been hit hardest in New Zealand. What's the number one thing that you think agents need to focus on as that market turns?
Yes. Outbound calling to buyers. Outbound calling to buyers to drive the traffic, to get the feedback, to manage vendor expectations, really. That's the circle. And it's that management of vendor expectations that if they are prepared to accept what the market says, because I don't think in all situations you can get vendors in a position where they're prepared to accept the market, especially considering the percentage drops we have, which are astronomical.
But if you don't give them a platform to make a decision, then there is no decision to make.
So we can give them all the market feedback and that's their choice to accept it or not. If we're like protecting the vendor's price, we're never going to get there. If we're not driving the traffic too, people aren't turning up. So if you're not driving the traffic, you can never get a pricing feedback and educate vendors.
Great. And what's something about Amanda Stevens that we don't know?
Ooh,
I didn't prepare you for this. So, is there a language that you can speak? Have you, did you, secret racing car driver? Is there something that we don't know?
Oh, I'm such an open book. I was in the New Zealand pool lifesaving team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So if in doubt and you're in the sea and you're drowning, Amanda will be there with a yellow and red bathing suit.
I can swim to you, I forgot the rest.
Fantastic. Amanda, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank